I have an account at Chase. She just sent me an email with a Chase screenshot. And ultimately, that cognitive gap is where biological trust, because we trust by default as an interdependent species, overrides digital suspicion, leaving the door wide open for all kinds of deception. AI-enhanced deception, deep fakes, voice cloning, just basic fraud in general, right? And think of it as like this biological default to trust in these psychological shortcuts, these heuristics that criminals use to bypass human logic. We call it like biological impulse versus intellectual understanding.
Hey, welcome back. Here at the Market Mamas podcast, I cover a wide range of topics from the intricacies of day trading to mindset mastery and psychological growth, with the goal of the conversations being next level growth for all of us. My name is Becky, and I'm a US-based futures day trader from the Pacific Northwest. My trading experience includes trading stocks, options, crypto, and futures, with both trading a personal account as well as with prop funding companies. Over time, I found that I most enjoy the fast-paced world of intraday futures trading, so that is my primary day trading focus now. Thank you for joining me on the Market Mamas podcast today. Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Market Mamas podcast. I'm the host, Becky, and we are trader psychology. And so we talk all about day trading and strategy and the way to have your most stable trading day. But there's a lot that goes into operating any sort of business on the internet. And that absolutely has to be factored in when you are in the online world, how to keep yourself safe. And we are in the business of money, right? In trading, we want to have accounts that are growing beautifully and we can extract profits from. But there's a risk there when you are kind of roped into multiple different platforms and banks and everything's tied in. So I am super excited to bring you guys a killer resource for everything that we're doing that you maybe don't put enough thought onto. And so today, thank you so much for being here with me, Robert. You are my guest and you are an expert in security, which I cannot wait to pick your brain on. Tell us more about yourself.
So sure, I am I'm a Bostonian, born and bred. I'm a dad. I've got a 17-year-old and a 20-year-old girls. I'm a girl dad. Married for 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
And cybersecurity training or security awareness training is what I do. It's how I feed the family. I talk about all the things that we may not quite understand. I generally get people up to speed in regards to digital literacy as it revolves around cybersecurity, so that when the bad guys do contact you, which they do via email, telephone, and in person, all day, every day, they're looking for their next mark. Our job is to become a tougher target. And I show my audiences how to mitigate that risk by putting basic systems in place, small changes in behavior, maybe utilizing a few additional technologies so that I believe that I can make everybody in the top 10% of secure Americans.
Okay, that's super valuable because I think the risk is just astronomical. I mean, all of our finances and our safety for our persons and our families are at risk all the time. What would you say is the highest risk for someone who is operating any sort of work online?
The biggest problem that we all face is truly us. And as odd as that sounds, we are what is considered an interdependent species. Okay. And as an interdependent species, that means that we depend on each other for our survival. So man needs woman, woman needs man to procreate. And the fundamentals of that is that we need to trust each other. And that means that when we come in contact with humans in person, that we want to biologically trust that that person has our best interest in mind. When we receive phone calls and emails and text messages, we want to believe that the person on the other end has our best interest in mind, that they essentially don't mean to hit, hurt, harm, or steal from us, right?
Yeah.
And so all day, every day, this day and age, we're being bombarded with all kinds of scams. And every so often, one of those scams may hit us in a way where, this is something that I need to respond to. We may not recognize that this is not something that we should be trusting in that moment. Because biologically, there was something about that scam that triggered something in us that made us react and respond emotionally versus intellectually understanding this is a potential fraud, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we are our biggest risk, knowing that these sociopaths and psychopaths are out there targeting us. It's important that we recognize our own human blind spots.
Yeah, that makes so much sense because when I have think about the times that I have been targeted with text messages or emails, they do it. Poke at something that they know about. They can glean about your personality that might trigger you to feel the need to click into them and double check it. And they're very smart. It's coming a long way, I think, over the years.
Yeah, just this week, I received a communication from a client who is sending me money via Chase. And she sent me an email with a screenshot. The payment's been made. And an hour later, I got an email from Chase saying, hey, payment's being made to you. Click here to log in. I go to log in, and it brought me to my login for Google to plug in my username, which is my email address, and my passcode for Google. As I'm looking at this, I'm going, wait a minute, why did Chase just send me to my Google? And I look at the URL. It's a .ru URL. So you know .com?
Yes.
.ru is what?
I have no idea.
Russia.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So I caught it. I paid
Yeah.
attention to it. I recognize that why is Chase sending me to
Doesn't think.
Google? And then as I'm looking at this going, something's not right here. And then I see .ru in the URL. Whoa, this is not okay.
Yeah.
So I've been paying attention now for 30 plus years to this stuff. And I even still clicked the link that brought me to that website because, hey, I'm human, right?
Yeah.
I just got an email from my client with the Chase screenshot. So we are our biggest risks, and the
Yeah.
bad guys bombard us with millions of these communications on a regular basis. It is up to us to stop and to recognize that risk. That human blind spot that I talk about essentially is that psychological instinct to trust the familiar.
Yeah.
In this case, I'm familiar with Chase. I have an account at Chase. She just sent me an email with a Chase screenshot. And ultimately, that cognitive gap is where biological trust, because we trust by default as an interdependent species, overrides digital suspicion, leaving the door wide open for all kinds of deception,
Yeah.
AI enhanced deception, deep fakes, voice cloning, just basic fraud in general, right? And think of it as like this biological default to trust in these psychological shortcuts, these heuristics that criminals use to bypass human logic. We call it like biological impulse versus intellectual understanding. In other words, the internal conflict between our evolved survival instincts and our knowledge or lack of knowledge of all the various digital risks that we face on a regular basis.
Right. Okay. So I completely am tracking and it's a very real risk that I have encountered all of the time. What is step one for us to like start protecting ourselves way better?
Well, the idea is to essentially like recognize that we are fallible, we are vulnerable, that my DNA says that I am going to react and respond to phone calls, emails, and text messages if, say, my loved one is at risk. My grandchild, so to speak, is being, arrested and needs money from me to get, bailed out. I love my grandchild. I want to help him or her out and so forth. Like grandparent scam. Like
Targeted.
recognize all that stuff is actually real, right?
Yes.
And you and I think are probably a little, too young for the grandparent scam, but
My grandma got that a couple of times.
Right? Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Okay. So first and foremost, I teach people to become what I call the strategic human firewall. Okay. So the strategic human firewall is somebody who recognizes this stuff about us, that we look at risk as a real thing. It's possible, it can happen, right? We don't function in denial. These things don't happen to me. They truly can. And we see that, right? And the strategic human firewall is designed to block deception. It's a proactive governance. It's a mindset that turns us from passive targets into active detection layers. Like we're always looking for it.
That's smart.
Now, always looking for it does not mean that we worry. It does not mean that we are paranoid. It means that we recognize that these things are actually happening, that people are defrauded all the time. Okay. And as we are looking for it, as we are looking to detect it, as I was in that communication, once I was like, okay, something's not right. Why am I being taken to Google? It stopped me in the moment. And then as I'm looking at it, why is it .ru? Whoa, way red flag. So
Yeah.
I saw two red flags right away because I am looking for it. I'm not just blindly doing what the bad guy wants me to do.
Right.
Log in. I'm not doing that. I generally don't do that at all. I click links just like anybody else, but even when I'm clicking, I'm still cognizant of, okay, what am I getting myself into here all
Yeah.
the time? Okay.
Yeah.
And so you become this active detection layer. It's a shift from I automatically trust by default to I verify everything. Okay. We call
Yeah.
this security appreciation. I value what security provides me, what it has in my life. We are shifting from awareness, like security awareness is knowing, we understand, we know, to appreciation, which is caring. Like it matters to me that my Google account doesn't get hacked. It means something to me. And therefore, like, I'm not just going to log in. Like, what is this about? Like, why would I be logging in here? Like, this
Yeah.
is important to me. I'm just not going to do what I'm told, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
And so I care about this. It means something, it matters. And when we appreciate the value security has in our lives, right, we begin to look at risk a little bit differently. So I call this the security appreciation gap. It's basically that chasm between our basic understanding of risk, again, awareness, and the emotional commitment to act in that knowledge, which again is appreciation, right?
Yeah.
So all of our lives, we've been like told what security is and isn't. And I've learned over the course of my career of investigating and understanding and studying the human condition that we generally don't value and appreciate security in our lives. And what that means is, right? Hear me out, okay?
Yeah.
So when I get in front of live audiences all the time, and I ask them these basic questions like, how many of you lock your doors? And depending on where I am in the country, rural versus, suburban versus urban. Rural, they might lock their doors 20, maybe 30% of the time.
Mhm.
Suburban, maybe 60 to 80% of the time. Urban, 95% of the time.
Yeah.
Right? And then I asked, okay, so how many of you have a home security system? And when I ask that question, no matter where I am in the country, rural, suburban, urban, rural, almost never.
Yeah.
Suburban, maybe 30% of the time. Urban, a lot more, right? But in general, 85% of consumers, citizens, Americans, don't have home security systems.
Yeah.
And I said, so why? Why don't you have a home security system? And the most common answer that I get is people say, well, I don't have a home security system because I don't want to live like that. And I say, okay, so what does that actually mean? And they say, well, I don't want to live in fear. I don't want to have to worry. I just want to live free. And what they're really truly saying is, I don't want to have to think about risk because it makes me afraid. Which, what that really, really means is, and I asked them, I go, okay, I think I'm understanding what you're saying. And then I say to them, okay, so I'm a guy, which is true, has 20 plus security cameras. So when you hear that, right, being a layperson, let's say, right, when I ask my audiences, what might that say about me? Guy's got 20 plus security cameras. Like what might be like my outlook, my worldview? Like I wake up every day and I got 20 security cameras. What might you say about my disposition? What does that mean? Guy's got 20 security cameras. He must be what?
Paranoid.
Paranoid. That's what they all say, 100% of the
Afraid.
time. And they actually go paranoid, like 100 people in the room, paranoid. And they
Mhm.
all look at each other laughing like it's funny, you know? And the reality of it is, we as a culture, we as a society, we look at security as a form of paranoia, which essentially is a bad thing when you think about it.
Yeah.
The medical communities have told us that paranoia is a mental health disease. It is somebody who is truly out of sorts. Like they are at odds with their mind and body. Like they truly do believe that people are out to get them. The government, their neighbors, their spouse, like they are paranoid, diagnosed. It's a mental health dis-ease. I have a cousin who is unfortunately diagnosed with that awful, awful disease. And I think right now the poor kid might be living in her car. Like that's the only place she feels
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah.
And she truly does believe that others are out to get her. Like she's actually called me to sweep her house for bugs, and she's told me how the government has implanted a chip in her body.
Yeah.
Like it's awful.
It's real.
Right?
Yeah.
It's real. And so when we as a culture, when we as a society, when we look at security as a bad thing, I don't want to be paranoid. I don't want to
Yeah.
have to worry. I just want
Negative
to be free.
connotation.
Why would we engage in security practices at all? And so when I say that we are our biggest risk, it's our biology and it's our cultural conditioning. It
Mhm.
prevents us from doing the basics.
Yeah.
And the basics are locking your doors, having a home security system, using a password manager, having a different passcode across all your critical accounts, never using the same passcode twice, using two-factor authentication for everything. Those basics, you do those things, you're already in the top 10%
Yeah.
because less than 10% of the general public is using a password manager. Less than 10% of the public is using a different passcode across all their critical accounts. I know this, right? On all the password breaches that have occurred in the past 20 years, there's like 15 to 19 billion of our passwords on the dark web. And researchers have determined that like 94% of those passcodes are basically like all the same passcodes that we use.
Right.
Only like, 6% of them are like all
Truly
different.
unique. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And
Mm.
so we're all engaged in poor digital literacy regarding cybersecurity hygiene because we don't want to think or believe that we would ever be targeted because we trust by default. We function in denial. It can't happen or won't happen to me. I don't want to live like that, worried in fear, as if engaging in security practices is going to make you paranoid.
Just a quick pause before we get into this. Trading can be intense, and staying mindful during your session matters so much. That's why I created and am sharing a free 3-part audio experience that's helped me deeply. 1 for starting your day with calm intention, 1 to stay centered while you trade, and 1 to wind down with grace when it's time to stop. These tracks are yours. Just click the link in the description.
Yeah, it's such a good point because I think that we get distracted, people get busy and they just backburner a lot of things that should have a higher priority sometimes. And then you can write it off saying, I'm not at risk. It won't happen to me. I have passwords. It's fine. I'm safe. That's rare. We get caught up in that and we get caught up in other priorities a lot of the time. But what you're saying is really not that complicated. You're saying there are not really challenging things that we can put in place that will massively protect us compared to the risk that is very real and constantly around us. I love how you did that rundown of like just a list of things that are not wild to understand or implement and that a lot of us could do to really shore our systems up.
So one of the things that we can do going forward, like I mentioned, get a password manager, just do a quick search on password manager. You'll find all kinds of websites out there that have done articles on the top 10 password managers for 2026, right?
Yeah.
Read up on it, see what ones you like, download, play with it. If you like it, buy it, because usually like there's an annual fee to it, which is like, $20 a year. And then from there, you change up all your passcodes on your critical websites one by one as time goes by. The password manager creates long, strong, uppercase, lowercase, numbers and characters, passwords you're never going to need to remember because the password manager remembers it for you. From there, do a quick search on two-factor authentication Google, two-factor authentication PayPal, two-factor authentication eBay, Amazon, and so
Yeah.
forth. And you'll learn right
They're
there how
everywhere.
to set up two-factor authentication on all those critical websites. Before you know it, you're already doing better than everybody else. You've already become
I love
a
that.
tougher target. And then from that point on, anytime the phone rings, an email comes in, or you get a text message, you need to adopt that strategic human firewall mindset. Basically, this is a governance mindset. It's the shift from autopilot. I trust what I see. It's not going to happen to me anyways. I'm not worried about it because these things don't happen to people like me. Why would they steal my identity? Why would they want to hack my bank account? To intentional security. Intentional security means I'm going to make an effort when the phone rings, an email comes in, a text message, regardless of when I pick up the phone, when I open up this email, whatever the subject line is, or a knock comes at the door, regardless of what that is, Before I react, I need to understand what's happening here. It's being intentional about that. Look at
Mhm.
when you're out and about, you're with your friends and you're going to dinner, right? You park your car and then you get on the sidewalk and then you head over to the crosswalk. What do?
You lock your car, you look both ways, you make sure you're not walking into traffic and there's no one around you that is a threat.
You're looking at not just your physical security in regards to not getting hit by a car. You're looking to see if anybody's paying unwanted attention to you.
Yes.
You're already a strategic human firewall. That's fantastic. The point that you just made was that you stop and you look, you're paying attention to your surroundings, you're being intentional about not just walking into traffic.
Yeah.
And thousands and thousands and thousands of people die every single year because they just walk into traffic and they get killed. We've seen more pedestrians get killed from getting hit by cars this decade than like in the past 2 decades. We're all on our phone, not
Staring at
paying
your
any
phone.
attention. We're just like blind to what's going on around us. And so when you are intentional about your
Yeah.
safety and intentional about your security, you are cognitively recognizing risk. You become the strategic human firewall.
Yeah.
In daily life, it means instinctively, intellectually applying what I call the AAA protocol. This is easy to do.
Okay.
Right? You're analyzing every aspect of the situation you're in, the perimeter of your body, the phone calls, emails, and text messages you receive, right? Every request, right? You're authenticating through like this tactical pivot, so to speak, right? And acting only when certain. You're only crossing that street when you know it's safe, right?
Hmm.
So it's choosing like friction points over convenience to protect yourself, right? So that AAA protocol is number one, you analyze what's going on. Where am I?
Yeah.
What am I doing? Who's paying attention to me? What's this phone call, email, a text message all about? So you're analyzing first. You're cognitively, intellectually analyzing what's happening to me, what's happening in the situation that I'm in, where I'm
Yeah.
at, cars coming, right? People paying unwanted attention, phone call with somebody in distress, whatever the case is. And that urgency of that someone who's in distress, a loved one, whoever, it could be you being targeted in a scam where it's the local law enforcement saying, we've just received a phone call that you're writing bad checks all over town. And unless you provide us with this information, we're sending a car to arrest you. And you're like, okay, what's the likelihood of that actually happening? Like this is happening over the phone, but like, is this that manufactured urgency that I've heard of? And as you stop for a second and realize like your blood pressure is starting to rise because your heart's starting to beat a little faster. What's
Nervous.
happening to me right now? This phone call has just made me react and like, okay, what's that AAA protocol thing? Okay, analyze the urgency of what's happening to me right now. And then authenticate the source. Okay, so in this particular scenario, that phone call, all right, listen, I believe you, your local police. I'm going to call you right back. Click. And you call a number that you know is real. You do a quick search online
Yeah.
for the name of the local police department or whoever for that matter.
Yeah.
Before you engage in any further dialogue, you authenticate. Is it Fidelity
That's smart.
calling me? Is
Mhm.
it Coinbase calling me? Like I receive text messages all the time
Yeah.
saying that they are Fidelity or Coinbase. I have one on my phone
Amazon.
this morning, right?
Mm.
If you did not authorize a transfer in your Coinbase account, call this phone number. Do you know how many thousands of people are going to call that phone number?
Oh.
And once you call that phone number, you know what they're going to do next? They're
Ask for information.
They're going to ask for information, but what they truly want to do is the next step is they're going to get you on the phone and they're going to say, okay, we believe that there's been a breach in your Coinbase account. So here's what we're going to do. What we need to do is log into your machine. And so from somewhere in the world, India, let's say,
Yeah.
they're going to send you a link to your email. And then you're going to click that link. And when you click that link, you're going to access them and they're going to access your machine. You're going to give them permission to access your computer. It's as simple and as quick as that.
Yeah.
Now, once they're on your machine, what they're doing now is they're dropping a virus onto your computer
Yeah.
so that when you're sleeping that night, they can log onto your computer and they can access your Coinbase account.
Yeah. And probably any passwords that are in there that are not unprotected that they can get to anything. Those viruses can, depending on how advanced they are, right? They can pull all kinds of information once they can link in.
Everything. And once they launch that virus onto your machine, they own you.
Yeah.
All because you emotionally reacted to that text message.
Yeah.
You called that phone number, and because you want to and need to trust that the Coinbase has your best interest. And because it was a text message and you receive dozens of text messages a day, sometimes thousands a year, you trust texts.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's one more text? And you were just on Coinbase the day before.
Yeah.
So it works perfectly in the timing of it all, right? So then we analyze, we authenticate, and then we act only when we verify it's safe to cross the street or it's safe to react to that inbound communication.
Yeah. That's so
AAA
smart.
Protocol. Yeah.
Just being a critical thinker, like that will serve us well in all aspects of life, is to judge a situation with like an objective mindset of like, is this person on my team? Are they out to hurt me? What value does this bring? How valid are they of a person that is coming at me? And this is such a vulnerability point that we all have now that everything is online. It's changed everything in the last 20, 30 years for the way that we can be targeted and harmed. And so that's such a strong like approach to all of it, of just like step back a little bit. If they trigger you emotionally, gosh, there's parallels to trading in this, because when we're triggered emotionally, we make poor choices. And so if they are aiming at triggering us emotionally for a risk to anything, then we tend to act more emotionally because they trigger you. So that priority of being a acute critical analyzer in that situation is powerful.
So in the world of investing, whether it's, day trading, whatever the case is, right? Our vulnerabilities, our true vulnerabilities, our technical vulnerabilities beyond our biological vulnerabilities lie in our mobile devices. So in the world of finance, you can't make a transfer in any of your own accounts without jumping through all kinds of hoops today.
Correct.
Right? Through two-factor authentication, device reputation, device recognition. There's a number of back office security settings that prevent us from being engaged in various scams or our accounts being easily accessed. But when we, in fact, are socially engineered, that is the easiest way for the bad actors to overcome all of these security settings. The next most effective way for them to overcome all of these security settings is to swap out the SIM card from our phone into their device.
Oh.
So you might have heard of SIM swapping.
Yeah. They have to physically have it though, correct?
So SIM swapping is generally when, and they don't necessarily need to have your own actual card from your device or even an eSIM. What they need is for your telco, your carrier, your AT&T, Verizon, Xfinity, T-Mobile, whoever, to swap out your SIM to another eSIM or card to somebody else who then enables it on their device.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so you're getting phone calls every day. Your phone works fine. All of a sudden, your phone call goes dead. No phone calls, can't make a phone call. And you're like, why doesn't my phone work? And what you don't realize is that your SIM was swapped out to another device somewhere else in the country or in the world.
Yeah.
So now that bad actor who swapped your SIM to their device generally already has access to your email. And if they have access to your email, that means that the two-factor authentication that you would set up so that when your Coinbase account is activated, when your Fidelity account is activated, when your email account is logged into, you get that one-time passcode to your phone. that's when you're in a lot of trouble. Because now what they're doing is they're accessing your most critical accounts through your email, through two-factor authentication set up on that swapped out SIM on the bad actor's phone.
Oh my goodness.
That's when they start to make trades that you're unaware of. And often that stuff is happening like at, 1 a.m.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very
Because they've got hours to make this thing happen. And what you're not seeing is they likely could be like on your laptop or on your desktop, like, that's sitting in your kitchen. And like your mouse is moving all around and you have no idea that that's happening because, you're sleeping.
Yeah.
And they've already taken over your phone. Your phone that's sitting next to your bed is like working, like as far as like it's, keeping time and such. It might even wake you up with the alarm that morning, but it's not receiving, phone calls or text messages for that matter.
Yeah.
Email might work because it's connected to Wi-Fi in your house, but it's not, on the 5G connection any longer.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. So there's risk everywhere.
Yeah. And that risk in regards to SIM swapping needs to be mitigated. And the way to go about that is number one, make sure your passwords for your email are not the same as your Facebook or your LinkedIn or your anything for that matter. Your password for all of your critical accounts, especially email, needs to be different. We've discussed that, but I've got to drive that home. Additionally, you might want to also consider a different email address as a username for your accounts, for your most sensitive financial accounts. So your Fidelity account and your crypto account probably shouldn't have the same username. They might not even have the same email address either. It's a separate login entirely. Okay. Beyond that, your mobile carrier, whoever you do business with, you want to consider contacting them, finding out, is there an additional layer of protection that I can include in my account to prevent SIM swapping? Like, is there a verbal passcode? Is there an additional app that I can download that would prevent somebody from engaging in compromising my two-factor authentication? Talk to your telco, see what systems they have in place. There might be an authenticator app that they might recommend.
Okay. Great tips.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. And you really obviously are quite an expert in this world. This is your world. This is where you have established a lot of resources. And so tell me a little bit about where we can go to find more in terms of like, maybe we do these base things, but if we're really in a world where there's a lot of risk, like what do you recommend for steps?
So number one, like,
That we haven't done.
as far as security in your life, do the research. I would start, frankly, with my LinkedIn profile. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm at Robert Siciliano, Siciliano. I am writing the most current, cutting edge content in regards to making sure that you personally and or professionally are mitigating risk, protecting you and your family, protecting your finances, and protecting your businesses via my LinkedIn newsletter. I've got, tens of thousands of followers there. So read up on that every couple of weeks. So connect with me on LinkedIn, right?
Okay, perfect.
Stay on top of what is new and ahead of what is next in all things security as often as you possibly can. So read up on this stuff. Anytime an article comes across, wherever it is in your life, read up on it, okay? From there, I'm available at protectnowllc.com. Again, protectnowllc.com.
Okay. And I'll definitely put the links in the show notes. That way people can find you because this is a very serious risk that we all really ought to be super careful with. I mean, we want to be careful as we're building our businesses and our trading accounts and our skill there. And heaven forbid, like all of that is taken away by some a-hole who has a very well established system. So that I really think that it's worth an afternoon of digging into your content and all of the resources that you offer to us and putting a lot more things in place for all of us. So I'm so glad that you were able to come on the podcast today and give all these great tips.
Thanks for sharing. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, everyone, definitely look at the links below so you can follow up and get more information because this is really important. And thank you, everyone, for being here with me at Market Mamas. We'll keep bringing the resources every week. Take care.